T-Rex Shields.
Make sure y'all stay on point with the Puncher's Point. What is good, y'all? Welcome back to the Puncher's Point. Claressa Shields is returning back to the ring. Now, Claressa Shields, I'm not gonna lie, ever since she's hit the heavyweight division, she's been a little bit more active than what we've been accustomed to seeing from Claressa Shields. Obviously, since she's going to heavyweight, becoming undisputed heavyweight champion is absolutely huge, especially for the women's boxing division, but not even that. But overall, I mean, the two wins that she had against Vanessa LePage, Joannice, and Danielle Perkins, I mean, they were two dominant wins in that heavyweight division, and she looks at her best in the heavyweight division. But with that being said, she's going to be going up against two division champion, Lani Daniels. Now, before I kick into the breakdown and all those types of things, this fight is going to be taking place in Detroit, and overall, it's going to be taking place on July 26th for that undisputed heavyweight championship. Now, as far as Claressa Shields, what are her strengths and weaknesses? Now, here's the thing. Claressa Shields, she's been fighting for a decent amount of time now. Obviously, we know about her being the GWOAT. Obviously, we know about the gold medals and the professional record. She's undefeated as a pro. She's probably the most successful, probably the most famous woman boxer of all time. She's obviously the greatest women's boxer of all time. I've gone on record by saying that after she became undisputed heavyweight champion, she proved that she is the greatest women's boxer of all time. Obviously, there's that debate with her and Layla Ali. Recently, with Layla Ali saying she wants 15 to 20 million to fight Claressa Shields, and Claressa Shields saying that she has that money for her on the table, now all of a sudden talks about those two fighting are starting to buzz. But obviously, as of right now, that's all it is a little bit of some rumors, and we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about Claressa Shields versus Lani Daniels. Now, with that being said, we're going to start off with the GWOAT, Claressa Shields. Claressa Shields, 16-0, 3 knockouts. Now, what is Claressa Shields' strengths and what are her weaknesses? Well, let's start off with the strengths. I will say for me, her number one strength is her counterpunching. I think she does a very good job of being patient and being composed, and she really does find her time and her shots, and she finds them very well. See, the thing is about Claressa Shields, she is very, very accurate when it comes to that counterpunching. I think Claressa Shields is best when she's patient and she waits for her opponent to throw a punch. And then basically you'll see Claressa Shields slip that punch and she'll throw one of her own. And usually what the counter will be, it'll be a counter right straight. To me, that's her number one power punch right there, the counter right straight. She does a good job with that jab. You'll see many times she'll throw that jab 3 straight times in a row, and she's very fluent with that jab as well. And I do think that that's also been a good tool and a constant tool in Claressa Shields' game ever since she's hit the pros. She's got good defense, whether it's her footwork, whether it's her bobbing and weaving or slipping out the way, whether it's her parrying the jab. She's got good defense, and it's really hard to hit Claressa Shields. The left hook, that's, in my opinion, her second best power punch, the left hook. You'll see many times where she starts going out of flurries and she starts throwing her combinations. You start seeing those hooks starting to catch her opponents, and specifically that left hook. It's a dangerous punch. She's got a good gas tank. I mean, obviously, everybody talks about how she doesn't have knockout power, but regardless, she's gone the distance with some of the best, and she has a good gas tank. She's able to be on go mode from round one all the way to round 10. And last but not least, to me, this is the most underrated strength when it comes to Claressa Shields, but her transition to heavyweight has been absolutely amazing. She's looked stronger, she's looked faster, she's looked better, she's looked more composed, she's looked more technical. You could tell that the heavyweight division is Claressa Shields' division. So overall, I do think those are the key strengths for Claressa Shields. Now, as far as weaknesses, there's a reason why she's the greatest woman of all time. There's a reason why she's the greatest woman boxer of all time. As far as weaknesses with Claressa Shields, I couldn't really pick many because she is the GWOAT, but there are a few. And the first weakness that I picked was she takes too many blows on the inside. What I noticed about Claressa Shields is very good at going to the inside and landing some good combos, landing some good punches, but she's not the best when it comes to opponents finding their way to the inside. She starts taking too many blows. Sometimes you start seeing it become a war. You start seeing them, her and her opponent go punch for punch, and that's not the Claressa Shields that I like to see. In the super middleweight division, she had a little bit of a habit that when opponents would start charging forward, she would start getting pushed back against the ropes, and that created less space for Claressa Shields. And again, like I said, one of her biggest strengths is her counterpunching and her defense. And I feel like once you push her on those ropes in the corner, it's kind of hard for her to start throwing those counters. And then last but not least, if there's a punch that's going to clip her, it's the uppercut. A perfect example of that is when Hannah Gabriel knocked her down with the uppercut. And for me, I do feel like that uppercut, because Claressa Shields might get a little bit greedy on the inside, and because she might not have the best success on the inside, I feel like that uppercut might be a punch that Claressa Shields is going to have to watch out for. Now, with that being said, why am I saying the uppercut's going to be the punch to watch out for, and what does that have to do with Lani Daniels? Well, we got to get to the strengths to talk about it a little bit. So for me, the first key or the first strength that I would have for Lani Daniels would be she has good head movement. If you notice Lani Daniels, she's always using that head movement, and to me, you could tell that I think she's more of a slick fighter than she is an aggressive fighter. Claressa Shields says she's aggressive. I don't think she's too aggressive. I think she's more of a slick fighter than she's an aggressive fighter. Now, Lani Daniels is 11-2 with two draws and only one win coming by knockout. She has a good right hand. I do think that Lani Daniels has a good right hand, and that is a punch that I do think she's going to be looking to land against Claressa Shields. Quick feet. What I like about Lani Daniels is how she's able to constantly move around the ring. She's constantly moving. She's not standing in one spot. But what I also like about Lani Daniels is unless you push her there, she's not really putting herself in a position where she's against those ropes. She's not really putting herself in positions where she's going to shrink the space on herself. She's moving around the ring, but she's doing it effectively. She got good left hook. I do think that's probably her second best power punch, just like Claressa Shields. They both got some similarities, but overall, I do believe they're two different fighters. And then last but not least, she's very good at level changes. I think that Lani Daniels is very good at starting off low and going up to the head. And I think she's very good at just honestly constantly changing levels, not giving her opponent an idea of whether she is more, whether she's going to attack more on the high guard or the low guard. I do think she's very good at using those level changes. You'll see times where when she's going for the pressure, she'll kind of lower herself and she'll go to the body a little bit just to kind of open up something with the head. And then she'll come up and she'll start landing to the head. And then vice versa, you'll start seeing her start high and then basically go down low. So I do like how she's able to level change. I do think that's something that she could definitely take advantage of when it comes to Claressa Shields. And so weaknesses. What are the weaknesses when it comes to Lani Daniels? Well, here's what I will say. Despite her having good footwork, I don't think she's really good at cutting the ring. And I think the reason why I don't think she's good at cutting the ring is because I don't think she's a big enough power threat to cut that ring. You see, a lot of these fighters who can cut the ring, they have the power to do it. They have the power in their hands. They got the pop in their punch to cut the ring. They can, obviously cutting the ring has to do with foot movement. But a lot of them, the reason why they're so good at cutting the ring is because once they hit them with a certain punch, those guys tend to stay in that area. For instance, I'll give you a perfect example. Even though he might have not had the best success against him, if you go back and you watch that Williams Zepeda fight, Williams Zepeda cut the ring on Shakur Stevenson more than any fighter has. And I think the reason why is because Williams Zepeda pops a punch. And I believe once he started getting Shakur Stevenson's respect, especially when Shakur was in the corner, Shakur kind of had to stay in that corner a little bit longer than what he expected. With Lani Daniels, I don't think she's good at cutting the ring. She has the footwork to do it, but I don't think she's good at cutting the ring because I don't believe she has the power to keep her opponent there. So I will say that. Sometimes she shies away from her jab. I like Lani Daniels' jab, but sometimes she really shies away from it. Sometimes she'll just go straight for the power shots and she'll just neglect the jab. And in this fight, I think she's gonna have to use that jab to get to the inside of Claressa Shields. She leaves her head open after throwing the jab. This is a key weakness for Lani Daniels. Now, I couldn't find much film on Lani Daniels, especially her two losses, because she lost to the same woman. I couldn't find those two fights, but I found the two fights where, or I found at least one of the fights where she had that draw. And the draw, it came against an opponent that we'll talk about a little bit later, and it's another weakness of hers. But when I was watching the fight, every single time Lani Daniels would throw that jab, the opponent would come right back over the jab and hit her with something else. And it seems like every single time she throws that jab, she leaves her head open. And again, against somebody like Claressa Shields, you cannot do that, or else Claressa Shields will take advantage of that. So I do believe that she's gonna have to be a lot more careful with throwing that jab. I like the way that Lani Daniels throws that jab, but I don't like after she throws that jab. I don't like what happens after when she's leaving herself wide open, especially against somebody as dangerous as a heavyweight Claressa Shields. She can't handle inside pressure. When I was watching the fight, she was going up against a girl named Tessa, and Tessa was able to kind of push her on her back foot and then go into the inside, start landing some body punches. And on top of that, she would start landing some hooks. She would start landing some of her power punches and force Lani Daniels to get gritty. And I do believe that in that fight, when Tessa would get to the inside, Lani Daniels kind of struggled a little bit, and she didn't have the same amount of success as she did when she was moving around the ring, as she was sticking her with the jab, as she was using her head movement. It seems like when opponents are able to get that inside pressure on her, Lani Daniels sometimes tends to crumble. She drops her hands a little bit. I mentioned it with the jab, but overall, you'll see moments where she kind of drops her hands a little bit, and those are moments where I think Claressa Shields can take over. And then last but not least, questionable level of competition. Now, this girl Tessa that she had two draws against. Some people believe Lani Daniels won that fight. Other people believe it was a draw regardless. This Tessa girl was 1-6, and she had two draws against her. And if you go look at her resume, she's got some questionable competition on there. Yes, she's a two-division champion. She's fought some great opponents. However, she hasn't had the best success against some of these people. I mean, to have two draws against somebody who's 1-6, that's just unacceptable, especially as a championship fighter. So for me, I do believe that the level of competition that Lani Daniels has been facing is nowhere near comparable to Claressa Shields. And in the press conference, Claressa Shields said that. She said, "Look, she's an aggressive fighter, she's a good fighter, but she has not fought anybody near the same skill set as me." And I do believe Claressa Shields on that. Now, as far as the keys to victory, what's both fighters going to have to do? Well, as far as Claressa Shields, I mean, she's the GWOAT, but if I had to stick to three keys that Claressa Shields can use in this fight, I will say throw combos after Lani Daniels throws her a jab. When Lani Daniels throws that jab, you throw two, three punch combinations and stick with it, and you basically push her on the back foot. And then from there, you can work on to the inside. When you target the inside, go to the body. In my opinion, I do believe that if you can get to the body, if you can kind of start depleting Lani Daniels' gas tank early, I do believe that helps you tremendously later on towards the fight. And I do believe that if you can target that body, I do believe the body's an easy target. It's another target that Lani Daniels is susceptible to. So I do believe when you go to the inside, target the body, and then from there, go up to the head. And last but not least, use feints to clip her. That's kind of connected to my second key, but basically, I want to see Claressa Shields use feints. I want to see her open up Lani Daniels' guard, and when Lani Daniels drops her guard, that's when I want to see Claressa Shields charge. Now, as far as Lani Daniels, if you're gonna have any chance of beating the GWOAT, especially in her division now, I do believe that these are the best keys that you're gonna have to use. So the first key is movement. I do believe you're gonna have to use movement. Again, stick her with that jab, and I think you're gonna have to use movement. You cannot let Claressa Shields get into the inside. And I do believe that she has the footwork to get the right amount of spacing against Claressa Shields to where Claressa Shields can't throw those types of combinations and land them. So I will say use your movement. After you use your movement, regardless, you don't want to just keep walking around the ring because I don't think you're going to win the fight that way. So I will say force your way to the inside. And I do believe the best way that you can force your way onto the inside is to basically charge, kind of bob and weave, slip out the way of Claressa Shields combos. And then once you get to the inside, this is the third key. Land that uppercut. If you have any chance of dropping Claressa Shields, it's going to be with that uppercut. And I do believe that if you can find your way onto the inside and land that uppercut, kind of similar to how Hannah Gabriel's did it, maybe you can get ahead on, maybe you can knock her down, maybe you can get ahead on a round, and potentially maybe you can find some success on the inside. But overall, those would be my three keys for Lani Daniels. And so we go to the betting odds, and the betting odds, obviously, you would know that Claressa Shields is the favorite, and you could tell that she's probably a wide favorite, and that's obviously the case here. Claressa Shields is a minus 4,500 favorite, while Lani Daniels is a plus 1180 underdog. Now, the most likely method to victory is Claressa Shields by points and decision. The least likely method victory, besides a draw, actually, the least likely method victory that's even less likely to happen in a draw, is Lani Daniels by KO/TKO. So, what do I believe? Well, first, do I believe Lani Daniels is going to KO Claressa Shields? Absolutely not. If she does, I mean, I will absolutely be shocked if she KOs Claressa Shields. If she KOs Claressa Shields, then I can honestly say that Lani Daniels might be the GOAT of women's boxing. But that's not going to happen. Now, can I see Claressa Shields winning by decision? Yes, that's a pretty favorable outcome. However, my prediction, something's telling me Claressa Shields knockout round five. I think the way it's gonna work is I think Claressa Shields is gonna establish her dominance early. I think she's gonna pick apart Lani Daniels pretty early, and I think come the fifth round, I think Lani Daniels is gonna get too flustered. I think she's gonna get overwhelmed, and I think that Claressa Shields is gonna drop her, and then after that she'll just TKO her and win the fight. So I'm gonna go Claressa Shields by knockout or TKO. I'm gonna go Claressa Shields by TKO. That's gonna be my final prediction right there. And so overall, we're just gonna have to wait and see what happens. Obviously, this fight is going to be taking place on July 26th. It's gonna be a great fight for the undisputed women's heavyweight championship. It's going to take place in Detroit, Claressa Shields' hometown. So definitely make sure y'all go check that out. And then obviously, with that being said, make sure y'all continue to tune into the past episodes. Obviously, with that busy July 19th of boxing, we had so many great post-fight episodes. So make sure y'all go definitely check those out, especially the Manny Pacquiao versus Mario Barrios post-fight episode. Don't forget to check that out. But if y'all are on here to talk about Claressa Shields, if y'all really love Claressa Shields, we've covered her in the past. So make sure y'all go check out the previous episodes when we covered Claressa Shields. And with that being said, make sure y'all continue to tune into the Puncher's Point. We're going to keep on giving you guys some great content. We're going to keep on making sure that we got the social medias popping. The Reddit is finally starting to gain a lot of success. So for everybody who's going to Reddit, I appreciate y'all. For everybody who's been really popping off with the views, Sebastian Fundora versus Tim Tszyu 2, the post-fight episode, did great views. Usyk versus Dubois 2, the post-fight episode, did great views. So to all the supporters, to all the fans, even the haters, we appreciate y'all. Y'all doing a great job, and y'all are the reason why the Puncher's Point is still thriving and it's still going on. So with that being said, if you guys want this similar content, if you guys want us to keep on producing this type of content, I need y'all to do one favor. One favor. It's not even that hard to do. Just make sure y'all stay on point with the Puncher's Point.